Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, I'm not the normal type of interviewer. I really like having conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Our platform is called Get on Code, Our Black Empowerment. We really focus on empowerment. And we say that our code is empowerment. Everything you eat should empower you. Everything you consume, I'm drinking some water now.
Okay.
you know, God's nectar should empower you. Everything you consume mentally in terms of podcasts, reading, the things you take in to your soul, and to your mind, to your ears, that should empower you.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the ways that we look at empowerment is through having resources. And that's where you come in. It looks to me like if you've done 500 plus flips, you've found some strategy that seems to work really well.
Well, that's because I screwed everything up first.
Ooh. Okay, so let's start there. Tell us about the challenges, the screw-ups that you had to overcome.
Well, I mean, one big one. Well, the biggest screw-up was not getting a mentor or a coach when I started. I mean, if some people think education is expensive, try going out there and doing this thing on your own to start with. My wife, Carol Joy, and I, we started in 2003 in our small market here in eastern North Carolina, only 40,000 people. And so the first 6 years, Seko, from 2003 to January 2009, all I knew to do to get my deals funded was go to the local bank and get on my hands and knees and say, please fund my deal. And, the lender would make me pull up my skirt and look at all my personal assets and financial statements and credit score. And I had to abide by their rules. And, Seko, that worked out okay for the first 6 years. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting right here at this desk. We still live in archaic times here. We actually still have handsets and cords attached to landlines, here. But I sat here at my desk, Seko, and I picked up this phone, and I called Steve, my banker. Now, this was January 2009, so just sort of think about what was going on then. And so I called up Steve, and Seko, I had these 2 houses under contract to buy. And I'd had this kind of conversation with Steve many, many, many times because he'd been funding my deals for 6 years.
6 years?
6 years, 2003 to 2009. So I tell Steve about my 2 deals that I got under contract and the funding required for the deals. And he said, Jay, we've closed your line of credit. I said, what? What are you telling me you closed my line of credit? He said, we're not loaning money out to real estate investors anymore. I said, Steve, I got these 2 deals under contract. You and I have been doing business for 6 years, and you're telling me that you're closing my line of credit? Why? What in the world is going on? He said, Jay, don't you know there's a global financial crisis going on right now? I said, no, but you just gave me a global financial crisis because now I don't have a way to fund my 2 deals. He says, well, line of credit is closed. So I hung up the phone. Seko. I sat here for a moment, and I asked myself a very powerful question. And the power is in the right question. The empowerment is in the right questions.
Amen.
And so I asked myself this question. I'm going to share this question with you and your audience. And I'm telling you, this question will help fix any problem anybody's got. I don't care if it's financial, career, relationships, health, whatever it is. Here is the question to help with the problem. And by the way, these people running around saying every problem's an opportunity, I want to throw up. I didn't have no opportunity. Are you kidding me? I didn't have an opportunity. I had a problem, right? Let's face the facts. So, so here's the question I asked myself. I said, Jay, who do you know that can help you with your problem? I tell you, it's funny, Seko. I immediately thought of Jeff Blankenship. Now, Jeff Blankenship's a dear friend of mine and Carol Joy's. He lived at the time in Greensboro, North Carolina, and he was flipping some houses. And I picked up this same telephone, and I called Jeff, and I told him what happened in hopes he's going to help me with my problem. And I
Right.
told him. He said, well, Jay, welcome to the club. I said, I said, what club are you talking about, Jay? He said, well, that's the club of having your line of credit shut down at the bank. He said, my banker shut me down last week. I said, well, I must be calling the wrong person. I said, well, how are you going to fund your deals, Jeff? He said, have you heard of private money? I said, no. In fact, I never heard of hard money. No, I never heard of hard money. I said, private money? No, I don't know. What is private money? He said, well, private money is when an individual like you or me uses their investment capital to fund our deals and loan us money. And we get to make the rules. We get to underwrite our own deals. We get to set our own interest rate because we're not asking, begging, chasing, or persuading. Where instead of asking for a mortgage, we're offering an opportunity, right? I said, that's interesting. I said, no, I never heard of that. He says, well, let me ask you another question. He says, have you ever heard of self-directed IRAs? I said, no. What's that? He says, well, that's where an individual like you and me can take current retirement funds that they're not happy with. Maybe it's in the stock market. Maybe it's a previous 401k. And they can take those retirement funds and they can, without any kind of tax effect, they can move those funds over to an IRS-approved self-directed IRA company, also known as a third-party custodian, and they can loan that money out to us on our real estate deals, and all the interest that we pay them, either accrued or quarterly or whatever, is either for them tax-deferred or tax-free. And I said, Jeff, I don't have a clue what in the world you are talking about, but I said, you're talking some mighty powerful stuff.
Right.
So Jeff and I spent some time on the phone. He filled me in on what he was getting ready to do. And so then I hung up the phone, and Seko, I put my program together, and here's what I decided.
Okay.
I said, look at here. I'm not going to chase, beg, persuade, sell, or try to talk anybody into anything. What am I going to do? I'm going to put on my teacher hat. My teacher hat. And my teacher hat, I can't put on my teacher hat with my headphones. But I see it. About private money teacher. Private money teacher. And so what I decided I was going to do is go about teaching people in my own connections, my own warm market, people I go to church with, people at Business Networking International, people in my cell phone. I was going to just start teaching people what private money is, how they can get involved, and how they can invest in real estate totally passively, get high rates of return safely and securely. So the first thing I did was, people ask me all the time, Seko, they say, Jay, how do I get involved in private money? What's the very first thing I need to do? And here's the answer. You got to own the real estate in between your ears before you start owning real estate out here. Meaning you got to get your mindset right. People say to me a lot of times, they say, Jay, I'm fear of rejection. I'm afraid if I ask for money, I'm going to be rejected. And I answer that question with this question, and that is, how can you be rejected if you're never asking anybody for anything? You're serving. You're serving. You're leading with value. You're showing a world to the people in your connections initially. You're showing people in your connections how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely in a world that they've never heard about. Here's what's interesting, Seko. I got 47 private lenders that are funding our deals. And you know what's interesting? Not one of them 47 private lenders ever heard of private money until I told them about it. They never heard of private money. They never heard of self-directed IRAs and how they could use retirement funds to do this and be involved. Over half of my private lenders are using their retirement funds, and I introduced them to the self-directed IRA company rep that I recommend, and they move their money over, and so now all the interest they're earning is either tax-deferred or tax-free, depending on the type of account they've got. So that's the mindset. That's the mindset, is serving, teaching, right? and exposing people to this world. And, you know, I've done it one-on-one. I've done it in groups. I've put on private lender luncheons where I'd invite 20 people in my own network, going to feed them lunch over at the Dunes Club at Atlantic Beach, and show my little PowerPoint presentation and teach them this program with no deal attached to it. You see, I've never pitched a deal. Here's a writer downer right here now. Here's a writer downer. Quote unquote, desperation has got a smell to it.
True that.
In fact, desperation stinks. Desperation stinks. And, you know, when you're talking to somebody, they can smell it. They can sense it. And look, when is the worst time in the world to be raising private money? When you need it. When you need it. when you need it for a deal, right? You know?
Right.
And that's where the desperation comes out. So here is some secret magic sauce right here. Secret magic sauce. Separate the conversations of teaching the program and the opportunity, and then having a deal for your private lender to fund for you. I want to share with you, Seko, and your audience right now, the exact script. I'm going to give you the exact script right now as to what I say over the telephone to my private lender when I got a deal for them to fund. And they fund it every time. Every time.
Let's put a pin in that. Let's put a pin on that. I want the people to know who we're talking to. You know, whoa. I mean, you really put up some great information, Jay. Great information. I also want them to know who you are and where they can find you, just in case they say, I need to find this guy immediately, right?
Right.
If they need to find you immediately, this is where they need to go, all right?
Yes. So to find me, what you want to say, what they're interested in, I love it. Anyway,
here we go.
I want to give away my book to your audience. That's a great way to connect with me. I want to give away my book. And did you know,
and that's a beautiful book. Is this the one you're talking about, Where to Get the Money Now?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, Where to Get the Money Now. And by the way, did you know the post office is still in business? Can you believe? Anyway, this is not an ebook. This is not an ebook. This is a book. It's a bestseller, Where to Get the Money Now. Subtitle, How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. And it's $20 at Amazon, but don't spend $20. Let me give you the book for free. Just cover shipping and handling. And here's where you go. I'll autograph it and I'll send it out 3-day express delivery through the post office. jayconner.com, and I'm an ER, not an OR. So www.jayconner.com/book. jayconner.com/book. And I'll rush it right out. Yep, that's it right there.
Right here. So, yeah, beautiful. jayconner.com. And I'm glad you spelled out that Connor has a ER.
Correct.
Yeah, so JAYCONNER.com/book. And I see hyphen details.
Don't worry about that. Just jayconner.com/book. And that'll get you there.
I'm going to get rid of the details and make sure that we put the right thing up there. There we go. All right, awesome. Good. So, man, I can't wait to get my copy. So, $6.95 for shipping and handling. That's a winner. That's a winner chicken dinner. Now, the other thing that I really love, and I wanted the code keepers to know is, you know, we're a podcast. I love podcasts. Jay has a podcast. I've listened to about 5 episodes so far.
Okay.
Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.
That's it.
We're
in our eighth year of podcasting. And what I do on the podcast is I interview people all the time. I got 2 shows a week. One comes out early Monday morning. The other one comes out early Thursday morning. And I'm all the time interviewing other people that have raised private money, and I dig into their brain as to how they go about raising private money.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, and I was surprised to listen and find out that you were interviewing somebody. And I was like, Jay knows all this, but you allowed them to shine and to add on to the information that you were already providing. Um,
Absolutely.
and Code Keepers, you can also go. We're YouTubers, right? You can go to Raising Private Money for Real Estate. He has a YouTube channel, Raising
Hmm.
Private Money Real Estate. Just the @ Raising Private Money Real Estate, and there are a plethora of videos up here. I'm seeing at least 40.
Yeah, there's more than that.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, there's
okay.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And Code Keepers, you also know that I do my work. So one of the great things is Jay's team reached out to me and shared his one sheet. And so he talked about how he started out and how he relied on his local banker. I'm telling you guys, this is the real deal. This is the real deal, Holyfield, for real. So I want to go through a lot of the interview questions that you have in here and your discussion talking points. But to be honest with you, I just want you to keep talking and keep sharing like you were doing earlier. You were just giving us the secret sauce.
Yes, yes. So here's the script. Here's the script. So remember, the secret sauce is we're separating conversations between teaching the program the opportunity, and when they say, yeah, I'm interested in this, will they let me know how much they've got to invest? Remember, there's no deal attached to this initially. And if they've got retirement funds and they're not happy with the returns on their retirement funds, then the next thing I'm going to do is introduce them to the self-directed IRA rep and get their questions answered. And it normally takes about 2 weeks to 4 weeks to get their account funded, before they can fund a deal. So you taught the program, they love it, they've told you how much they got to work with, and you don't have to ask. I mean, you teach it, they're going to tell you, right? And so let's do a little role play here, Seko, and I'm going to make it really easy for you. I'm going to role
Okay.
play. I'm going to role play with you, and you ain't got to say a word except shake your head, right? You ain't got to
Okay.
say a word. Okay.
I can do that. I'm pretty fluent in shake. I'm shake fluent. I can shake it both sides, up
right.
and down, sideways.
Holy mercy.
Okay.
Let's assume, Seko, that you are one of my new private lenders. And let's also assume that you've got $150,000 that was sitting over in a 401k that you're not happy with from a previous employer. And so you got $150,000 sitting over there. I've taught you the program. You love the program. You love the interest rate. You already know what the maximum loan to value is of after repaired value. By the way, I don't borrow a percentage of purchase price. I borrow a percentage of the after repaired value. That's why I always bring home a big check when I buy every deal. Who wants to get paid to buy properties and take none of your own money to the closing table, right? So you know the whole program. And you told me you had $150,000. I introduced you to my self-directed IRA rep, and now your account's got funded, and you've let me know you got money sitting there. You got the $150,000 sitting in your account, and I tell you, Seko, I'm going to call you just as soon as possible when I can put your money to work. And you say, okay. All right, so let's say a week goes by, a couple of weeks goes by, and I pick up my rusty-dusty handset here on my telephone, and I dial you up, and you answer the phone. There you are. And we say hello. We have a little chit-chat. And here's the script. Here's the script, verbatim. Seko, I have got great news for you. I can now put your money to work. I've got a house in Newport under contract. It's got an after-repaired value of $200,000. Now, the funding required for the deal is $150,000. That matches up to what you've got. Closing is going to take place next Friday, so you'll need to have the funds wired to my real estate attorney's trust account by next Thursday. I'm going to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. That's the end of the conversation, for goodness sakes. The most stupid question I could have asked Seko is, do you want to fund the deal? Well, of course Seko wants to fund the deal for these following reasons. Number one, he moved the money over to the self-directed IRA company that I recommended. Number two, he's not making any money until I put his money to work, because Seko trusted me with what I had taught him about the program. And thirdly, he knows I'm not going to bring a deal for him to fund unless it matches the criteria of the program that I already taught him. And so Seko is elated. Seko is elated that I have called him with the great news phone call, because he's been waiting to start making money.
Yes. I'm excited. Let's make this money, man.
So it's like, so, but let's take a second and just unpack what's going on here, right? I didn't try to slam dunk Seko and pitch him on a deal and teach him the private lending program in the same conversation. I mean, a confused mind takes no action, right? So I want to keep it simple. And by me not having a deal attached to me teaching the opportunity,
You weren't desperate.
I wasn't desperate. In fact, when I was sharing the program with you, you actually sensed you need me more than I need you, because I got lots of private lenders. There's private money all around. There's more private money than we can use today. Prior to COVID, 5 years ago, there was $18 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines. Today, $31 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines looking for a home. Come
home, baby.
Come home to Papa.
Come home
to Papa. You know, and so that is just critically important, because you see, these people that you're sharing this with, they never heard of it. They never heard of private money. There's 3 categories of where you find private money. 3 categories.
What are they?
The first category is your own warm market, your own connections that you already have. They're in your cell phone, your social media, your Facebook friends, you know, your LinkedIn, your email list. If you're over 60 years old, you still might have a Christmas card list, and you only get 3 Christmas cards these days. But, you know, wherever you got connections, you know, people you go to church with.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Hey, here's a writer-downer question, category number 1. Writer-downer question. Where do you go every week and see the same people? Where do you go? Where do you go on a regular basis and see the same people? Now, the reason I ask that question is that when you are seeing people and you are in their top of mind awareness on a regular basis, those are the people that trust you the most, right? I mean, who have you got the longest term relationships with?
Yeah.
You know, so those are the easy peasy lemon squeezy people, right?
Okay.
So that's the first category: people in your own connection.
So that's the warm market, right? Okay.
That's the warm market. Second category is what I call the expanded warm market. So what's the expanded warm market? That's growing your network, because, you know, we all know there's a direct correlation between the value of your network, your relationship capital, and your net worth. So you're going to, I mean, if you are focused on raising capital, you're going to run out of people eventually. You're going to run out of people eventually in your own market. So how do you expand your network so quickly? Here's a writer-downer right here. Business Networking International, BNI.
Yes.
BNI.
Right.
And have you ever been a member of BNI, Seko?
I've been to 3 BNI meetings, separate meetings, not with the same group.
Gotcha.
But because I also have a contract during the daytime, I'm not able to normally attend most of the BNI groups.
Gotcha. Well, I've gotten millions of dollars new funding by being in BNI. And the great thing about BNI, Ivan Meisner founded it decades ago. Their motto is givers gain. Givers gain. That's where we're leading with that servant's heart. Well, the purpose of the BNI local chapters is for each member to share leads with each other. and they truly only have one realtor, one real estate attorney, one general contractor, one HVAC, one essential oil lady. You know what I'm saying, right? One seat. And so your job is to support each other and, take on the seat as a real estate investor. You teach people about private money, and you're letting your fellow members know who you want to get in front of, right? Which, by the way, I tell people to make their list. How should you start your list? Here's how you start your list in your warm market. People in your cell phone that are retired. People in your cell phone that are retired. There's a good chance they got retirement funds, and they may not be happy with it. So that's your expanded warm market. The third category of where you find private money is existing private lenders. These are people that are individuals, just like you and me. I'm not talking hard money brokerages, just individuals like you and me that are already a private lender and already lending money out. Well, my community, my community of real estate investors that follow me, I give them access to what we call our private lender data feed, the private lender data feed. And that is a data feed that we update every month, and we get every private lender closing in the nation. We got their contact information. We know what kind of interest rate they're getting on every deal, and that's great. But let me tell you something. I like the warm market and the expanded warm market better than existing private lenders, because with existing private lenders, I'm not putting on my teacher hat.
Right.
They already know what private money is. And a lot of them are spoiled, and they're already getting 10 and 12%. I don't pay 10 and 12%. I pay 8% and no points. 8%, no points. No extension fees. I get 100% funding for the purchase. I get 100% funding for the rehab if there's a rehab. And here's another rider downer right now. Here's another rider downer. When you're paying all cash, with private money on a real estate deal, if you can't bring home a big check when you buy, you're paying too much for the property. That's a double check right there. See, you're only bringing home a big check because you're buying the property at a significantly discounted price. And you're bringing home a big check because you can borrow up to 75% of the after repaired value. I didn't say 75% of the purchase price, right? So let's go back to that deal a second ago that you funded for me with your $150,000 retirement money.
Okay.
So let's just run that math real quick. It had an after repaired value of $200,000. I bought it for $100,000. That's 50% of the after repaired value. Well, how did I get that kind of deal? Because it needs a rehab. It needs renovation. And they can't sell it in the multiple listing service in the current condition that it is. So let's say it's got $35,000 in renovation budget. Follow the math. Here's how you're going to bring home a big check. Here's the math. $200,000 after repaired value. I can borrow up to 75% of the after repaired value. Well, 75% of the after repaired value is $150,000. So Seko is wiring into my real estate attorney's trust account $150,000. Well, if I'm buying it for $100,000, here comes Seko's $150,000 into the trust account. We close $1,000 of that $150,000 goes to the seller. Here's an excess cash to close check coming to me for $50,000, less a little bit of closing cost. So that's how I'm bringing home a $50,000 check on that transaction and taking none of my own money to the closing table. Now I'm going to take $35,000 of that $50,000 and do the renovation. That leaves me an additional $15,000 to do whatever in the world I want to. I can do it for carrying costs, cutting the grass, utilities, take Carol Joy to Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas on the airplane, whatever I want to do. Because
talk that talk.
I just pulling out that extra equity. So obviously I'm not keeping the majority of that $50,000 when I close. I'm going to use the majority of it for the renovation. But that's how the math flows, as to how I'm bringing home a check without taking any of my own money to the closing table when I buy the property. And so make sure everybody understands this is not hard money. There's no middle person. This is a one-on-one transaction between you, the real estate entrepreneur, and the individual that's funding the deal. By the way, you can have more than one private lender secured by the same property. You see, we're not borrowing unsecured money. Every private lender's got their own promissory note, and it is collateralized by the property.
Okay.
That's being purchased. In North Carolina and Texas, it's a deed of trust. Most states, most people call it a mortgage, right? So we're going to give our private lenders the same exact protection that a bank gets. There's a writer-downer. The private lender is the bank, and the private lender does not own any of the property. This is not a joint venture partnership. They get a set 8% rate, and that's an annual percentage rate, by the way, 8% annual percentage rate. So if I'm only using the money for 6 months, I'm paying 4% because I only had it, So it's 8% APR. And so they're the bank, right? And we protect them just like the bank. I'll take a second, if you want me to, Seko, and share exactly how we protect our private lenders. Here's how. They got a promissory note. We're collateralizing the note with the deed of trust or the mortgage. So if I don't pay them, there's a writer-downer. If I don't pay them, the property does. If I don't pay them, the property does. That's their legal recourse. If I don't pay them, they get the property. Now, of course, they don't want the property. That's why they're a private lender. They want me to do the work, right? But that's their protection. We also, as I said, we don't borrow more than 75% of the after-repaired value. The property in our example is worth $200,000 after it's repaired. I'm not going to borrow more than $150,000, so we've got what's called a 25% equity cushion. A 25%. So if the prices start coming down in the market or whatever, they are protected, right? We got plenty of time to cash out on this deal, and they don't have to worry about, losing money. I also named the private lender as a mortgagee. I named the private lender as a mortgagee on the insurance policy. So if there's ever a claim on the insurance policy for that property, then the insurance company makes the check payable to the lender and to my company. So now the lender has got to sign off on that check before I'm able to cash it. Well, my private lenders don't know this, but that's in the program. I teach them this, right?
Okay.
I also name them on the insurance policy, on the title policy as an additional insured. So if there's any title issues down the road, then they are protected. So even though they are not a partner, even though they're not a joint venture partner, I treat them like a partner and protect them. And I tell you what, when you're in this world of teaching people, you have got to look out for your private lenders. Particularly like my private lenders, they never heard of this world. They're trusting you. They are counting on you to take care of them. And let me tell you something. At the end of the day, your private lenders, the way I do the business, they're really not investing in your deals. They're really not investing in your deals. What are they doing? They're investing in you. That's what they're doing, right? And so they're looking for your confidence. They're looking for your trust. And as I said, back to our example of you funding the deal with that retirement fund money, they are sitting on the edge of the seat waiting to fund your deal because they have relied on you to be able to perform and put their money to work after they move that money over.
I love it. Hey, Code Keepers, I hope you're paying attention. Jay mentioned earlier that he's going to allow you to get a copy of his book. You just pay shipping and handling. $6.95, for something that can make you millions, that's negligible. A Code Keepers also want to make sure that you remember that the documentary mixtape series that I've been putting out, Generational Flip, is available. And right now you can find it at www.generationalflip.com, or you can find it on YouTube. Speaking of that, that's the documentary trailer for Generational Flip. You can find that at generationalflip.com. That's generationalflip.com. You can also find it on YouTube. The same as you can find Jay Connor. You can find him on YouTube. You can find his podcast. I love it. You can get his book, $6.95 for something that can make you millions. That's an investment you have to make. Jay, you just really kind of opened our minds collectively about the possibilities that exist when you're, looking at creating your own private money lending cohort.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if we got any time left, but if we do, I'll share a short story as to how I got my first $500,000 lender without asking for money.
Ooh, you know what? We just added time. Time was added.
So this will take about 3 minutes, and I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up, Seko. But so here's how I got my first $500,000 lender right after the bank cut me off without asking for money. There's two different kinds of conversations, lead-in conversations that I like to have with a potential private lender. One is called the direct method. One's called the indirect method. So I don't have time to share the direct method right now, but I'm going to share the indirect method by sharing this story. Right after I was cut off from the banks back in 2009, I learned about private money, put my program together, put on my teacher hat, and went about leading with a servant's heart to teach this program. So this story took place at 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night here in Morehead City, North Carolina, at the Church of Christ at 209 Barber Road. That's where Carol Joy and I have been a member since 1988. We're very involved in the church and love our church family. So we went to Bible study on Wednesday night. I walked in the foyer. I was looking for a gentleman by the name of Wayne. Now, Wayne and I had known each other for a while. And I walked up to Wayne and I said, Wayne, I got something I want to talk to you about confidentially after Bible study. Have you got a few minutes after Bible study? He said, well, sure, Brother Jay. So we sat down, we had Bible study, and we get together afterwards. We went down to the nursery, we shut the door, and here's the script. Here's exactly what I said to Wayne. I said, Wayne, you know everybody in this town. And he did. He was the Zenith television dealer in Morehead City, North Carolina for decades. And if you don't know who the Zenith television dealer is or was, that means you're too young to remember life before Walmart came to town. The Zenith television dealer would sell you TV, finance your TV, and even repair your TV. They repaired TVs back then. I said, Wayne, you know everybody in this town. He was very well connected to the Rotary Club, etc. And here's the magic phrase. I said, Wayne, I need your help. I need your help. I said, Wayne, what I've now done is I've opened up my real estate investing business by referral only, and I'm now paying insane high rates of return to my investors. When you run across somebody that's complaining about the stock market or not making hardly any money in the local bank in a CD, would you refer them to me, and I'll share my program with them? Wayne looked at me. He says, well, now, Brother Jay, what you got going on there? And I said, what do you mean, Wayne? Are you saying you might be interested? He said, well, I might be interested. I said, why is that? He said, well, we're only making 3%, and that's what it was. We're only making 3% in the local bank, and we're losing money big time in the stock market. What kind of rates are you paying there, Jay? I said, well, it sort of depends on the deal. I said, what kind of rate sounds high to you, Wayne? He said, well, we're only making 3% in the local bank. He said, I don't know, maybe 5% or 6%. I said, Wayne, I can't pay you 5 or 6%, but I can pay you 8%. He said, put me down for $250,000. So the next day, I went to his house. I sat down with Wayne and his wife, and I put on my teacher hat, and I shared the whole program with them. The interest rate I'm paying of 8%, how they can get their money back early in case they have an emergency, my maximum loan to value, how are they protected, and all the points of the program. After 2 cups of coffee, that $250,000 became $500,000 that afternoon, right? And so I told them with what I've been sharing here on your show, Seko, I said, I'll put your money to work for you just as soon as possible. And I did. And you know what? when I had that conversation, so let's unpack what I said. I said, I need your help.
Hold on. Let's stop. We got to clap again. We got to clap that up. Clap that up. Whoa.
Yes.
And it began with, I need help.
I need your help. I need your help.
Wow.
And you see, I didn't ask him for money. I asked him to spread the word. And boy, did he ever. He and his wife became a private lender, and I lost count. I don't know how many new private lenders they referred to us because of what they had enjoyed. And you know, one more point, and I'll be done, Seko. I turn it back to you. But one more point. I never guessed when I started out raising private money like this and leading with a servant's heart, I never guessed what the impact was going to be on our private lenders like Wayne and his wife. We got a handwritten note from them thanking us for changing their retirement years. They said, Jay and Carol Joy, we would not have been able to travel and do the things that we've done all these years unless you had told us about private money. So it's all about win-win, all about win-win.
And it sounds like you're winning and winning and winning. Whew. Oh man, I'm just so glad that we got a chance to talk, Jay. You've kind of opened up a lot to think about, a lot to act on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important piece. So it's a lot to act on. So look, I can go to jayconner.com, and that's once again JAYCONNER. All right. jayconner.com. I can get the book if I go to jayconner.com/book, and I'm just going to pay the $6.95. And hey, Code Keepers, I'm back on this page, and that's the shipping price. As we know now, it might go up, it might go down, but whatever it is, it's great. It's a great deal. Here's more about Jay. Where can I get the cash to do my real estate deals? Well, we just kind of went through that. That's whoo. And man, I'm telling you, I've really learned a lot just listening to you, because even though I'm familiar with private money, I hadn't heard about it the way you just described.
I love it. Seko, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share, because that's what I'm passionate about, is sharing with other real estate investors, whether they're brand new looking to get their first deal or seasoned real estate investors looking to stop paying crazy rates and points and extension fees and lead with a servant's heart and make a difference in other people's lives. It's never heard of this opportunity.
Man, hey, y'all, Code Keepers, if you say amen, give an amen. If you say ashe, give a ashe. If you say let's go, give a let's go. This is the type of information that's going to lead to the empowerment that we need to see. I'm checking this out. This is intriguing. Why private money will skyrocket your real estate business.
Yes.
7 reasons.
That's right. Yeah. So that is an ebook. That's not my book that we were talking about, but that's an ebook. That's an ebook that I also wrote that folks can download as well.
All right. So if I just click here where it says learn more, all right, this gives me some other information, and I can click here to download the PDF. I guess I'll submit my email address and all that information.
That's right.
And that's all I need to do. And next thing I know, I'll be get this great information from you.
You got it, brother. You got it.
Hey, you just told us how you changed the life of the first person who decided to invest and support and walk alongside you with this project. Tell me about some other lives that you've changed. I mean, Jay, I know you've changed some lives. I know you've been the conduit of life-changing opportunities. Let me put it that way.
Yes. Well, the biggest opportunity I've had to change lives are people that come to my live event, which I do 3 times a year. It's called the Private Money Conference, and it's right here in Morehead City, Atlantic Beach. Just had one recently, 3 weeks ago, and we had people from all over the nation, people from California, Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, everywhere from all over. And there were a few brand new real estate investors in the audience. The majority of the audience were people that had done real estate, but they were either run out of money or they were sick and tired of paying, high interest rates to hard money lenders or the local bank. They were looking to make the rules. And so I've been so blessed. Oh, Seko, Carol Joy and I have been so blessed. We have been able to impact thousands of people by exposing this world of private money and how you can lead with a servant's heart, be a teacher, make a difference in other people's lives. And so because of the podcast, my live events, that's where I've really been able to make the biggest impact and reach so many people.
Wow, live events. I'm so glad we're back to live events after the pandemic. It sounds to me like your live events are life events.
Yeah.
like
I like that.
It'll definitely change your life.
Yes. Yes.
And I was just looking at some of the testimonies on your website too. And you have some great testimonies. People really support and have changed their lives by supporting you. His course opened my eyes on all the possibilities of private lenders. I sent a link of Jay's brochure to an attorney. I got $100,000. Give me a call as soon as you can. People want to get tapped in, and I'm glad that folks want to get tapped in. Let's tap in. Let's tap in. Any last thoughts, Jay? Any last thoughts that you can share with the Code Keepers and they can share with the people that they know?
Yeah. Let me share this question. I learned this question from John Maxwell. I was blessed Carol Joy and I were blessed to be able to actually meet John Maxwell in person and have a little visit with him and hear him do a keynote. Best speaker I ever heard in my life. Best speaker. I was on the edge of my seat. And when it came to Q&A, an audience attendee said, Mr. Maxwell, let me ask you a question. What's the number one thing that has attributed the most to your success? He said, I'll answer that with two things. He says, first of all, write down this question. And so here we go. And the question he said to write down was, ask yourself, when was the last time you did something brand new for the first time? In other words, what have you done most recently, or how long has it been since you did something new that was out of your comfort zone? Because getting out of your comfort zone is where all the growth takes place. People that are successful become comfortable being uncomfortable by doing new things. And the second answer to the question was, he says, what has lended itself to my success more than anything else is, he says, I'm just willing to fail more than anybody else. He said, on average, when somebody tries something new, they'll succeed maybe 30% of the time. He says, if somebody tries 10 things that are new, they win 3 times and fail 7 times. He says, I try in the same length of time 100 new things. I'll fail 70 times, but I got 30 wins. Try more new things more often, and it'll take you to the next level.
Woo, woo, woo. That's good. That's juicy. That's Angus good. Wow, that's Wagyu good. Man. Hey, man, salute to you, your lovely wife, your church family, your investor family. I hope that all of us are blessed together. I hope that the prosperity continues to show and grow. I hope the prosperity becomes like rain. It just spreads everywhere, just waters and plants seeds and lets those seeds grow. Jay, I'm supremely thankful for everything you shared with the Code Keepers today.
Me too. I am so thankful to have met you, Seko, and be on your amazing show. You got an amazing show with all the sound effects.
Man, this has been great. Code Keepers, make sure you tap in with everything that Jay has to offer. All right, I stopped